Music. It has a way of altering emotions and is a driving force behind acts of love, excitement, violence, and various human experiences. I've been producing for 16 years and I want to take you into a deeper listen behind each song that I produced for my new album, Renegades Never Die. There's a method to the madness behind every bell, every hi-hat, and every single background sound. So let's take a journey into sound. This is Behind the Beat. When I originally created this composition, I was thinking mad scientist, something that would work well in a science lab tinted in dark green with splashes of purple electricity. I wanted to open up the album with the most rugged sounds as a transition out of my last free album, _2. It ended with a song called The Transition, and this was the next step. I started with heavy pads and synths and sang eerie opera notes on it. Did one take of that, then I moved on to the rest of the song. I wanted something hip-hop but not golden era, more electronic sounding. For the hook, I needed something that hit a different type of emotion, something that resonated with the message of the song. During the final mixing stages of this album, I came back home and realized it wasn't as full as I wanted it to be. So I ended up adding some trumpets and a transitional sound into the hook. That was a minor change in the natural, but I felt like there was a kid lost at Marshall Fields and needed to find his big mama, like, "Mami, ¿dónde está mami?" So I sent the extra files to my engineer Andy and he placed them in there and it was a wrap. I wanted the second song in the album to set the tone for the rest of the record. Almost like the feeling when you wake up, you go to sleep, and you wake up again. This is the wake up again part, but where you're happy you woke up. I wanted a fun feel with a sense of heaviness, something lighthearted but big-brained. I have a song I created in 2013 called Stop It, and I included a sample of myself throughout the track. It's the part I said, all y'all need to fall back, Benny Hinn. Pretty much directed toward people that just don't like me because they're mad at life and most likely never pray. All of the percussion on this one makes it feel kind of like going to a party dancing but with a serious face. It's like that. I wrote and sang a hook, sent it to my friend Michael to re-sing it in his darling voice, and this track I felt needed a hook at first, so it started off that way and it worked out beautifully. Fun fact, this was a track I originally produced over a year ago and I had to make no changes to it. If there are any producers watching this, if you're not making timeless music, you're making music with an expiration date. And although I desire to always create that way, this track may have the potential of dating itself in a few years, but it's safe to say that changes make it acceptable for multiple moods. Trailing behind Go On, I wanted the third track to roll off the darker piano that was at the end of track 2. I started off with distortion on a couple kicks to get a strange vibe going and added crisp claps to get any crowd anywhere to move. I remember when I made the beat drop in this song and I had my studio in an uproar. It just felt right to slow it all down, be dark, but still retain an upbeat vibe, especially with the Spanish girl on the hook.
Este fuego, siento esto hasta lo hueso.
This is how. Fun fact, I sat in the car with my wife, my mom, and my dad to come up with the Spanish hook of the song. After that, I had a few females try out for it, but it just didn't fit the beat right. At the last minute, I had my wife do it, who really doesn't know Spanish at all, and I asked her to make a weird voice, and it sounded amazing. At the ending, I wanted to add some beatboxing. I've been beatboxing since I was a baby, and I always thought everybody can beatbox in school, and everybody would stand in front of me for hours begging me to continue in 4th grade. I should have asked them to support the ministry. What was I thinking? I love 90s freestyle music, like Diamond Girl, stuff like that. I was born in Chicago, and so that's the birthplace of house music. So the main melody of this song is definitely a reflection of that. To be honest though, I didn't even know what to call it until multiple people told me what they felt when they heard it. So this is me just relaying what they said. I was just playing what God gave me. You know what I'm saying? So there are these sounds in the pre-chorus and the hook that go like, That's just me sampling myself on a keyboard. The song is called When the Beat Drop. but I didn't want to add anything with dubstep on this. Like, the title can make someone assume that, but I usually don't do things people expect. Sorry. I decided on the pre-chorus being dance music as a refresher from the 808s and the sprinkler hi-hats throughout the track. It's a very simple beat, but a simple that I became fine with pretty quickly. I've heard it said that it sounds like trap, but it's not the usual trap. And the cool thing is, I don't like usual things at all, but if I can gain ears by doing it, I'll go for it. I wanted track 5 to be a perfect mix from track 4, trailing from the dance music into dance music. I originally had this track as a continuous dance track, but when I remembered that I rap too, I decided to drop the dance intro into an electro trap sound. From the hook, I wanted to keep the same synths from the beginning and harmonize with another synth to create a very poppy feel during the catchy hook. Someone said it has the best of 3 worlds. I don't disagree. Fun fact, the chorus on this song is the only one on the album that I didn't write. Shout out to Adrian Quintana, very talented lyricist and singer out of Denver. Alright, for this one, I want you to imagine a young 20-something in a black and white video, right? On a drop top with a flare in his hand. The only thing you could see in color is the flare. It was shot in 120 frames per second, right? So that means when it's slowed down, it's epic slow-mo. That is the picture that hits me when I was playing this on the piano. And so I added EDM elements because there's just an undeniable, exhilarating energy that comes from this style of music. And I wanted to incorporate that within this record. So what I did was I dropped the beat and I added some heavy 808s. And if I were to pick a beat on the album that fits my album cover, this would be the one. But it's also something that causes you to think. So every sound that I created within this were sounds that will cause the mind to really examine and evaluate their current state and what they're gonna do tonight to change that. Every album needs a love song, right? So this beat made it easy. I usually love sounds that are frequently bypassed by every producer I know. I used a number of ugly sounds on this one, morphed them a bit, and came up with this. It's personally one of my top 3 from the album. It always feels good when I press play. The change up in the chorus ended up sounding huge. I added heavy reverb sounds to fit the summer of 1983 bass line and thick snare. Although I splatter vintage on everything, this beat is also reminiscent of a track released in the early 2000s. At least that's what I felt, and I love the way this one ends. Fun fact, I showed off this beat on my Vine account about a year ago. Unexpectedly, got a number of comments from strangers that loved it. I remember hearing it again months later and saying, maybe I should do something to that. I wanted to break up the seriousness of the sounds and do something a lot different. I remember needing a track 8 for this album, and I was going through beats with some of the deacons from the church, and they started really bobbing their head to this one. I'm mostly alone when I produce, and sometimes I discard potentially amazing songs until I see the effect it has on other people. This one had that effect I originally thought it would. Simple, dumb, and catchy. I remember we laughed when we heard it all together, and I forget what I make sometimes. This track took no more than 15 minutes to create. Fun fact, I didn't write any of the lyrics until after I recorded them. Right now. Track 9, Memorandum. Memorandum means a note or record for future use, and that's exactly what was recorded on this song. But production-wise, after sending a few amazing beats to Social Club, we settled on this dark hip-hop track. It's the only break-induced hip-hop sounding track on the album, reminiscent to a track on _1 or 2. I wanted to add some rappy bass, hi-hats, and snares to the overall dark breakbeat that really carries all the sounds. I wanted this to sound cinematic and moody, yet still with a rugged and raw feel. The way that it ends, I particularly love even more than the entire track, And that's the vibe it makes you feel when you hear those plucky, watery nuances that sprinkle over the track. And for track 10, I wanted to bring back the EDM and electronic influences from taking a short hip-hop break. For the Look What You Made Me Do sample, I altered my voice to sound like a 1950s TV show Angry Dad. Sounded pretty legit. I had multiple versions of this track and it just never felt right. And I almost did away with it in the production phase and after the recording phase. But I kept it because sometimes I make music to reach certain people, even if I myself don't personally think it's my best or good. For me, the chorus really helped me enjoy this song on another level. I just love the way that the harmony came through with the singing and the sounds that I used. Fun fact, a young producer named Wantel originally sent me a few tracks after I put up a Producers Wanted post. I usually do everything myself, but wanted to try something different. So he ended up sending me this one track, told him what I wanted, he made it, but then slowly but surely I began erasing a lot of things, creating a completely different feel while still retaining his amazing talk box effects, kicks, snares, fills, bells, the trap synth, and percussion. Great job, bro. On the second to last song, I wanted to take you, the listener, on a celestial journey from this world to the next. This is the happiest song on the album, and I had to add electro bass. Here's me again and my love for all things pre-1999. I wish Paula Abdul would have responded to my text, but I went along and finished it myself. This is one of the top 3 pieces on Renegades Never Die for me, not only because of the content of the song, but because it's more of my preferred style musically. For the bridge, you hear it. It's just lovely. This is the stuff that just wants to make your whole family sing along. That freestyle music. I'll be doing a lot more of this in the future. If you haven't noticed already, when I put songs together, it's because it needs to be listened to from the beginning to the end, or you'll never get the full experience. On track 12, I wanted to close off the album with the culmination of the entire project in one song, musically. A smorgasbord of rap, techno, 90s freestyle, and I ended the record with a little baby dubstep at the ending for good measure. And the grand finale of this track is the chord that catches everyone unaware at the end. It's my favorite. And it's the transition into the final track, Destiny's Prelude. That one, I'll have you decipher on your own. Until next time, this is Skrip, and you've been watching Behind the Beat. Go get Renegades Never Die today. Peace.